Let's talk about anger. That statement alone probably stirs something inside you, doesn't it? Because we've all been there. That moment when your blood boils, your heart races, and words spill out of your mouth that you wish you could swallow back. Anger is one of those universal experiences, a common thread that connects us all. It's deeply human, perhaps even too human. We experience it when we feel wronged, disrespected, or frustrated. But here's the tricky part. Anger feels powerful. In the moment, it feels justified, righteous even. Yet, if you're honest with yourself, how many times has it actually improved your situation? Think back to your last outburst. Did yelling solve the problem? Did slamming the door fix anything? Or did it leave you feeling hollow, ashamed, and more entrenched in whatever issue sparked it? That's the paradox of anger. It promises release, but delivers regret. The ancient Stoics, wise as they were, considered anger one of the most destructive emotions. Seneca described it as a kind of temporary insanity, and you can see why. When you're angry, you're not yourself. You're irrational, impulsive, and blind to reason. You might feel justified in the moment, but when the haze clears, you're often left picking up the pieces of your own wreckage. This begs the question, can we live without anger? Not in the sense of never feeling it, that's impossible, but in the sense of not letting it rule us. That's what this journey is about. Understanding anger for what it is, learning from the wisdom of those who've studied it, and ultimately taking control of it before it takes control of you. Now, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button. Only 15% of my audience is currently subscribed, so if these insights resonate with you, I'd love for you to join our community and turn on the notification bell to stay updated. Let's frame anger with a metaphor. Picture a single spark landing on dry grass. At first, it's just a flicker, a tiny flame, harmless and almost forgettable. But then the wind picks up and the spark catches. It ignites the grass, spreads to the bushes, and soon the flames are climbing trees, roaring louder with every passing second. Before long, it's not a spark anymore. It's a full-blown wildfire. That's anger. It starts small, maybe as a rude comment, a missed deadline, or a careless driver cutting you off in traffic. Harmless, right? But then it grows. You replay the comment in your mind, exaggerate its intent, and before you know it, you're consumed. And like a wildfire, anger doesn't discriminate. It destroys everything: relationships, opportunities, peace of mind, and it doesn't stop until there's nothing left. The wildfire metaphor isn't just poetic, it's painfully accurate. Anger spreads through our lives just like fire spreads through a forest. Think about it. One bad moment at work, your boss snaps at you, can ruin your whole day. You take that anger home, snap at your spouse, who then gets irritated and snaps at the kids, who then argue with each other. It's a chain reaction. The spark from earlier? It's now a raging inferno. The Stoics understood this well. They taught that the key to mastering anger lies in recognizing it early, when it's just a spark, and extinguishing it before it spreads. Easier said than done, right? But the first step is awareness. If you don't recognize the fire, you'll never put it out. Let's not sugarcoat it. Anger is bad for you. Not just in the moral sense, but in every sense, physically, emotionally, and socially. Let's start with your body. When you're angry, your brain releases stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate spikes, your blood pressure rises, and your body enters fight or flight mode. This response is great if you're facing a bear in the woods, but not so great if you're arguing with your partner over whose turn it is to do the dishes. Over time, this constant stress damages your body, Chronic anger has been linked to heart disease, strokes, high blood pressure, and even a weakened immune system. Think about that. Your anger isn't just a mental state, it's a physical poison. Emotionally, anger isolates you. It's a repellent. When you're constantly angry, people avoid you. They walk on eggshells trying not to set you off, and over time, relationships erode. Nobody likes being around someone who's always on edge. And then there's the regret. After the anger fades, you're left with the aftermath, the things you said, the bridges you burned, the damage you caused. You replay the scene in your head, wishing you could take it back, but the words are already out there, and the damage is done. Socially, anger can ruin opportunities. Imagine you're in a job interview, and the interviewer asks a question that irritates you. Instead of staying calm, you let your frustration show. You get defensive, maybe even sarcastic. What do you think happens next? You don't get the job. Or imagine you're leading a team at work, but you're known for your temper. Do you think your team respects you? Do you think they'll be honest with you? Probably not. Anger creates barriers. It shuts people out, and it shuts down opportunities. History is full of lessons about the destructive power of anger. Take Alexander the Great, for instance. Here was a man who conquered most of the known world by the age of 30, a brilliant strategist and leader, but in a fit of rage, he killed Clitus, one of his closest friends and most trusted generals. Clitus had criticized Alexander during a banquet, and instead of brushing it off or addressing it calmly, Alexander's temper flared. He grabbed a spear and killed Clitus on the spot. The moment the anger subsided, Alexander was filled with regret, but it was too late. Clitus was dead, and Alexander had to live with the weight of that decision for the rest of his life. Or consider Julius Caesar, whose frustration with his political rivals ultimately led to his assassination. While anger wasn't the sole cause, it fueled many of his impulsive decisions, pushing him toward actions that alienated even his closest allies. Anger blinds us. It narrows our vision, making us focus only on the moment, not the long-term consequences. And it's not just ancient history. In modern times, we see CEOs losing their positions over angry outbursts, athletes tarnishing their careers with temper tantrums, and politicians ruining their reputations with impulsive remarks. Anger has toppled empires, ended careers, and destroyed relationships. The question is, are you going to let it do the same to you? The Stoics were clear. Anger isn't an external force, it's an internal reaction. Think about that for a moment. It's not the traffic jam that makes you angry, it's your judgment about the traffic jam. It's not the rude cashier or the critical co-worker, it's the meaning you assign to their actions. Marcus Aurelius put it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That's the Stoic approach to anger. It's not about suppressing your feelings, it's about understanding them. Why am I angry? Is this worth my peace? What can I control in this situation? These questions shift the focus from the external world to your internal state, where the real battle is. Seneca, another great Stoic, had a particularly powerful insight. He said, "Anger is like a brief madness. When you're angry, you lose your grip on reason. You act impulsively, say things you don't mean, and make decisions you'll regret." The Stoics believed that true strength lies in self-control, not in lashing out, but in staying calm. It's not about being passive or letting people walk all over you. It's about responding thoughtfully, not reacting impulsively. So, here's the challenge. The next time you feel anger rising, pause, just for a moment. Ask yourself, is this worth it? What's really making me angry? Can I control this situation or just my response to it? These questions might seem simple, but they're incredibly powerful. They force you to step back from the wildfire before it spreads. They give you a moment of clarity in the chaos. This is just the beginning. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into practical strategies for managing anger, ways to reframe your perspective, practice mindfulness, and embrace silence. But for now, take a moment to reflect. Think about the times anger has controlled you. Think about the times you've let that spark turn into a wildfire. And then ask yourself, are you ready to take back control? Let's be honest. I'll say it plainly. Anger feels powerful, doesn't it? In the heat of the moment, it's as if the entire world bends to the force of your rage. But, as we touched on before, the strength that anger promises is an illusion. The question isn't whether we'll feel angry, we all will, but whether we'll let that anger dictate our actions. You see, anger, at its core, is a reaction, not an inevitability. What if I told you that the secret to mastering anger isn't in suppressing it, but in reframing how you perceive it in the first place? That's what this section is about, breaking the habit of reactive anger and adopting strategies that put you back in control. In the power of perception, have you ever noticed how two people can experience the exact same event but react completely differently? Let's say you're at a cafe, waiting for your coffee, and the barista forgets your order. One person might sigh, shrug it off, and patiently wait. Another might huff, glare, and demand, "Where's my coffee?" The event is identical, but the reactions couldn't be more different. What's the difference? Perception. The Stoics were masters of this concept. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That means anger isn't caused by the external event. It's caused by your judgment of the event. Let's apply this to something more personal. Say someone cuts you off in traffic. Your immediate perception might be, "That jerk just disrespected me." But what if you reframed it? What if instead you thought, maybe they're rushing to the hospital? You see how the story you tell yourself changes everything? This isn't about excusing bad behavior, it's about protecting your peace. Reframing is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. The next time something irritates you, pause and ask, is this really about me? Could there be another explanation? 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes. You're not the center of the universe, and that's a liberating thought. Practice the pause. Let's talk about pausing. Not the kind of pause you take when your Wi-Fi is buffering, but a deliberate, intentional pause. A moment of stillness before you react. This is one of the most effective tools for controlling anger, and it's deceptively simple. Picture this. You're in a heated argument. Your heart's racing and you're ready to unleash a verbal tsunami. But then you stop. You count to 10. You breathe. Just that pause, those 10 seconds, can mean the difference between saying something you'll regret and responding with clarity. The Stoics weren't strangers to this concept. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, advised, "You always have the option to have no opinion." Let that sink in. You don't have to react. You can choose silence. You can choose peace. Modern neuroscience backs this up. When you pause, you give your brain's rational part, your prefrontal cortex, a chance to regain control from your emotional amygdala. This isn't just philosophy, it's biology. A practical way to train this habit is through mindfulness exercises. Spend 5 minutes a day practicing controlled breathing. It might feel trivial, but when you're in the heat of the moment, that practice will kick in like a reflex. Focusing on what you can control. Here's a truth you might not like. Most of what happens in life is out of your control. Traffic, weather, other people's opinions, these are all beyond your reach. But here's the Stoic insight that will change your life. While you can't control external events, you can always control your response to them. Let's go back to our friend Marcus Aurelius. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Imagine the freedom in that. Imagine not being at the mercy of every rude comment, every delayed flight, every unexpected inconvenience. This isn't about ignoring problems, it's about focusing your energy where it matters most. A practical exercise is to make 2 lists, one of things you can control and one of things you can't. Let's say your boss criticizes your work. Can you control their opinion? Number. But you can control how you respond. You can choose to learn from the feedback or let it ruin your day. The point is to direct your energy toward actions that are productive, not reactions that are destructive. Understanding the root of your anger. Here's something most people don't realize. Anger is rarely about the surface issue. More often than not, it's a mask for something deeper: hurt, fear, insecurity. The Stoics understood this, and they encouraged self-reflection as a tool to uncover the root of your emotions. Ask yourself, why am I really angry? Let's say you're upset because your partner forgot your anniversary. On the surface, it's about the missed date. But dig deeper. Is it really about the date, or is it about feeling unimportant? Once you identify the real issue, you can address it in a meaningful way. This doesn't just diffuse anger, it strengthens relationships. Journaling is a powerful tool for this kind of introspection. Spend 5 minutes at the end of each day writing about moments that triggered your anger. What happened? How did you feel? What was the deeper issue? Over time, patterns will emerge, and you'll gain insights that help you break the cycle. Let me ask you something. Have you ever done something in a moment of weakness that you regret? Of course you have. We all have. Now, what if you extended that same understanding to others? What if, instead of reacting with anger, you responded with compassion? Compassion doesn't mean condoning bad behavior. It means recognizing that everyone is struggling with something, and often their actions have nothing to do with you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, 'Today I shall meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial. But I can't be harmed by them. They are just like me, fallible and human.'" Here's a practical way to practice compassion. The next time someone irritates you, pause and imagine their life. Maybe the rude cashier is having a terrible day. Maybe the driver who cut you off just got bad news. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it shifts your focus from anger to understanding. And that shift is where peace begins. Here's the truth. Life is unpredictable. There will always be people and situations that challenge you. The goal isn't to eliminate anger entirely, that's impossible, but to build the resilience to handle it. Think of it like training for a marathon. You don't train by avoiding hills, you train by running them. In the same way, every frustrating moment is an opportunity to strengthen your emotional resilience. One way to do this is through visualization. The Stoics called it premeditation of evils. Before you start your day, take a moment to imagine potential challenges. A rude co-worker, a long line at the store, an argument with your partner. Picture yourself staying calm and composed. By mentally rehearsing these scenarios, you prepare yourself to respond thoughtfully when they arise. Let's recap. Anger is a reaction, not a requirement. By reframing your perception, pausing before you react, focusing on what you can control, and cultivating compassion, you can take back the power that anger steals from you. But here's the thing, These strategies are only effective if you practice them, so start small. Pick one technique and commit to it this week. Maybe it's pausing when you feel irritated, or maybe it's journaling about your triggers. Whatever it is, take that first step. Remember, mastering anger isn't about perfection, it's about progress. In the next part, we'll dive even deeper, exploring how mindfulness, gratitude, and forgiveness can transform your relationship with anger. But for now, reflect on what we've covered. Think about the ways anger has held you back, and imagine the freedom of living without it. Are you ready to take that next step? Now some exciting news. Our channel now offers a live stream, streaming Stoic wisdom and insights around the clock. Plus, by joining our members club, you'll unlock exclusive benefits, deeper content dives, and personal insights. Join us on this journey, and let's build a meaningful life together. And I also humbly ask you to leave a comment, as it helps my channel immensely. If you do not know what to comment, just write "better every day," so I know you reached this far. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Also, I've linked some books on Stoicism that helped me become the man I am today, and will also help you achieve a Stoic mindset. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly paused? Not just a moment of physical stillness, but a mental pause, a moment when you stopped, observed your thoughts, and let them settle like sediment in a glass of water. In today's world, we rarely allow ourselves the luxury of true stillness. Instead, we react to emails, to texts, to comments, to interruptions. And in that constant state of reaction, anger finds fertile ground to grow. But there's another way. Through mindfulness, gratitude, and forgiveness, we can anchor ourselves in calm, no matter how turbulent the storm around us becomes. This part explores these powerful tools, offering you practical ways to make them part of your daily life. Mindfulness, the art of staying present. Have you ever noticed how much of your anger comes not from the present moment, but from the stories you tell yourself about it? Imagine you're waiting in a long line at the grocery store. The person ahead of you is fumbling with their wallet, and you're already late for a meeting. What happens? Your mind starts spinning. Why is this person so slow? Don't they realize people are waiting? Now I'm going to be late, and it's their fault. In reality, the situation is neutral. You're just standing in line. But your thoughts transform it into an infuriating ordeal. This is where mindfulness comes in. At its core, mindfulness is about staying present, observing what's happening without judgment or elaboration. The Stoics didn't call it mindfulness, but the concept was central to their philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, for example, constantly reminded himself to focus on the present. He wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." When you strip away the stories, the judgments, and the what-ifs, most situations lose their sting. You're just in a line. You're just sitting in traffic. You're just hearing a comment. Practicing mindfulness doesn't mean ignoring problems or denying emotions. It means creating space between stimulus and response. When something triggers your anger, instead of reacting immediately, you pause. You observe the sensation of anger, the tightness in your chest, the heat in your face, and you let it pass without feeding it. It's like watching a cloud drift by instead of chasing it. A practical way to build mindfulness is through meditation. Start small. Spend 5 minutes each morning sitting quietly, focusing on your breath. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back. Over time, this practice will help you cultivate the ability to stay calm and present, even in challenging situations. Gratitude, shifting focus to what you have. Let's be real. Anger often comes from focusing on what we lack. Someone cuts you off in traffic and you think, how dare they? They disrespected me. A colleague gets promoted over you and you think, that should have been mine. It's always about what you didn't get, what you deserved, what you're missing. But what if, instead of focusing on what's missing, you focused on what you already have? Gratitude is one of the most transformative emotions because it shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance. When you're grateful, anger has no room to grow. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the privilege of being alive. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." Imagine starting your day with that mindset. How different would your interactions be? Here's a practical exercise. Each night before bed, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. It could be as simple as, I had a good cup of coffee, or I saw a beautiful sunset. The act of noticing and appreciating these moments rewires your brain to focus on the positive. Over time, you'll find yourself becoming less reactive and more at peace. Gratitude also helps you reframe challenges. Let's say you're stuck in traffic. Instead of fuming, you could think, I'm grateful I have a car. I'm grateful I have a job to drive to. This doesn't mean ignoring frustrations. It means not letting them consume you. Forgiveness, releasing the burden of anger. Now, let's talk about forgiveness. This one's tough, isn't it? When someone wrongs you, the natural reaction is to hold on to anger as if it's a shield, a way to protect yourself from being hurt again. But here's the truth. Anger isn't a shield, it's a chain. It keeps you tethered to the very person or event that caused your pain. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is freedom. It's not about letting the other person off the hook. It's about unburdening yourself. The Stoics saw forgiveness as a form of strength. They believed that holding on to anger only harms the person carrying it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to not be like your enemy." In other words, by forgiving, you rise above the situation. You take back control. But how do you forgive someone who's hurt you deeply? Start small. Begin by acknowledging your anger. Write it down. Be honest about how you feel. Then ask yourself, is this anger helping me, or is it keeping me stuck? The answer is almost always the latter. From there, try to see the situation from the other person's perspective. What might have led them to act the way they did? This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you understand it. And understanding is the first step to letting go. Sometimes forgiveness takes time, and that's okay. It's not a switch you flip, it's a process. But every step you take toward forgiveness is a step away from anger and a step toward peace. The interconnection of these tools. Here's the beautiful thing about mindfulness, gratitude, and forgiveness. They're all connected. Mindfulness helps you stay present, which makes it easier to notice the good things in your life and feel grateful for them. Gratitude shifts your focus away from anger, making it easier to forgive. And forgiveness clears the emotional clutter, creating more space for mindfulness and gratitude. Together, these practices create a positive feedback loop that strengthens your ability to master anger. Imagine a day where you start with mindfulness, pausing to set your intentions for the day. Throughout the day, you notice moments of gratitude, a kind word from a coworker, the warmth of the sun on your face. And when someone inevitably frustrates you, instead of reacting with anger, you take a deep breath and choose to forgive. That's not just a good day, that's a life well lived. The power of inner freedom. Mastering anger isn't about suppressing it, it's about transforming it. using tools like mindfulness, gratitude, and forgiveness to turn it into something constructive. It's about choosing peace over conflict, understanding over judgment, and freedom over chains. These practices aren't quick fixes, they're lifelong habits. But the more you practice, the stronger they become. So, here's your challenge. Start today. Pick one of these tools and commit to practicing it. Maybe it's 5 minutes of mindfulness in the morning. Maybe it's writing down 3 things you're grateful for at night. Or maybe it's taking the first step toward forgiving someone who's hurt you. Whatever you choose, know this: every step you take brings you closer to the calm, centered life you deserve. In the next part, we'll explore how embracing stillness and trusting the natural order can further deepen your ability to navigate life without anger. But for now, take a moment to reflect, breathe, and remember, the power to change is already within you. Of the strength found in stillness, silence. It's a word that carries weight, doesn't it? In our noisy, fast-paced lives, silence can feel like a luxury, something fleeting and rare. But here's the thing: stillness, true, intentional stillness, isn't just a break from noise, it's a source of strength. The Stoics believed that stillness was where wisdom lived, where clarity emerged, and where anger dissolved. Today, we'll explore how embracing stillness and trusting in the natural order of life can help you master your anger, find inner peace, and reclaim control over your emotions. Stillness, the pause that empowers. Imagine a lake, its surface calm and mirror-like, reflecting the sky above. Now imagine tossing a stone into it. The water ripples, distorting the image, scattering the calm. Anger is the stone. It disrupts the peace of your mind, sending waves of frustration, regret, and chaos through your life. But what happens if you leave the lake undisturbed? It remains calm, serene, and beautiful. That's the power of stillness. Stillness isn't just about silence. It's about creating space. Space to think, to reflect, and to choose your response. When you're still, you're not reactive. You're deliberate. You can observe your anger without being consumed by it. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Practicing stillness doesn't mean withdrawing from the world. It's not about isolating yourself or avoiding problems. It's about finding moments of calm amidst the chaos. A simple way to practice stillness is to carve out time each day, just 10 minutes, to sit quietly, away from distractions. No phone, no TV, no conversation, just you and your thoughts. At first, this might feel uncomfortable. You might notice how restless your mind is, how quickly it leaps from one thought to the next. But over time, you'll notice something remarkable. The more still you become, the more control you gain over your emotions. Finding wisdom in the natural order. Have you ever looked up at the stars on a clear night? There's something humbling about it, isn't there? The vastness of the universe, the quiet order of it all. It reminds you of how small and fleeting our individual worries are. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that the universe operates according to a natural order, a flow that's far greater than any one of us. Their advice? Don't fight it, trust it. The Stoic principle of amor fati, literally love of fate, encourages us to embrace everything that happens, good or bad, as part of the natural order. When you resist life's challenges, you create friction, and that friction often manifests as anger. But when you accept life as it is, not as you wish it to be, you find peace. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine you're caught in a sudden rainstorm. You didn't bring an umbrella, and now you're soaked. You have two choices. You can fume about the inconvenience, cursing the weather, or you can accept it, maybe even enjoy the sensation of rain on your skin. The rainstorm isn't personal, it's just nature doing its thing. Your anger doesn't change the rain, it only makes you miserable. Trusting the natural order doesn't mean being passive or giving up control. It means recognizing the limits of your control and finding serenity within those boundaries. When you let go of the illusion that life should always go your way, you free yourself from the anger that comes when it doesn't. Responding wisely to life's challenges. The world is unpredictable. People will disappoint you, plans will fall apart, obstacles will arise. That's not pessimism, it's reality. The question isn't whether these things will happen, it's how you'll respond when they do. The Stoics believed that every challenge is an opportunity to practice virtue. Anger, then, is not a failure, it's a test. Let's say a colleague takes credit for your idea at work. Your first instinct might be to lash out, to confront them in anger. But what if instead you paused? What if you saw this moment as an opportunity to practice patience and assertiveness without losing your temper? By responding wisely, you not only preserve your integrity, but you also gain the respect of others, and most importantly, you maintain your peace. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you face a challenge, ask yourself, what virtue can I practice here? It might be patience, courage, humility, or forgiveness. This shift in focus, from the obstacle to the opportunity, transforms anger into growth. In the role of perspective, seeing the bigger picture. Sometimes, anger feels all-encompassing. In the heat of the moment, it's hard to see beyond your frustration. But one of the most powerful tools for mastering anger is perspective. The Stoics often reflected on the vastness of the universe and the brevity of human life as a way to put their problems into context. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Observe how ephemeral and insignificant human life is compared with the vastness of the cosmos." Think about a time you were furious. Maybe you missed a flight, or someone said something hurtful. At the time, it probably felt like the end of the world. But now, looking back, how significant does it feel? Chances are, it barely registers. That's the power of perspective. It reminds you that most of the things we get angry about are fleeting and inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. The next time you feel anger rising, take a step back, literally if you can. Go for a walk, look at the sky, or simply take a deep breath and remind yourself, this too shall pass. You'll be amazed at how quickly your perspective shifts. The strength of forgiveness. We've touched on forgiveness before, but it's worth revisiting because it's one of the most powerful antidotes to anger. Forgiveness isn't about excusing bad behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional weight of resentment. When you hold on to anger, you're the one who suffers. Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. The Stoics believed that forgiveness stems from understanding. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that people act out of ignorance, not malice. He wrote, "Whenever someone has done wrong by you, immediately consider what notion of good or evil they had in doing it. When you see that, you'll feel compassion instead of astonishment or rage." Here's a practical exercise. Think of someone who has wronged you. Instead of focusing on what they did, try to understand why they did it. What fears, insecurities, or misunderstandings might have driven their actions. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you see them as human, and that makes forgiveness possible. Closing thoughts. Choosing peace. Anger is a natural emotion, but it doesn't have to define you. By embracing stillness, trusting the natural order, and practicing forgiveness, you can break free from the grip of anger and live a life rooted in peace and purpose. This isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about recognizing that you have a choice to respond thoughtfully, to let go of what you can't control, and to focus on what truly matters. So, as we close this journey, let me leave you with this. The next time you feel anger rising, pause, breathe, reflect, and remember, you're not a slave to your emotions, you're the master of them. Every moment is a chance to choose calm over chaos, growth over grudges, and peace over conflict. The power is in your hands. What will you choose? Now, if any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. And if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find something to take with you. Have a good day.